FYF Sports. Hey, it's Lamont back. We're back with another podcast video, man. Today's episode, again, I would say it's kind of like a reaction video to some things that I researched, and I was able to just kind of find that just kind of left me baffled, man. Today's topics is definitely going to be just like what you see in the title. It's going to be on LeBron James, to start, I'll just let you guys know I'm not even the biggest LeBron James fan, but some of the things that have been going on or transpiring over the last few weeks with regards to LeBron James and just some of the things that are being said about this man's game have just been kind of baffling to me as a basketball player. So before we get into that, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell to the channel, man. I cannot express how important hitting that notification bell is. That's the only way you'll be up to date with all of the most recent videos that we put out. Again, so whenever, if you want to see this type of content, if you want to see our reaction videos, if you want to see our podcast videos, if you want to stay up to date with that information, make sure you hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we drop a new video. So we're kind of moving on from that. Today, I just kind of wanted to talk about LeBron James haters. LeBron James haters use a term a lot. They call LeBron James fans bronzexuals or all different types of terms. But based on some of the research that I've been doing here, it almost seems like LeBron James haters are more obsessed with hating him than fans are with liking him. And so his fans have to come to his defense when they start to say a lot of outlandish or ridiculous things that make no sense. So I just because of that, I said, let me do some research into, why did these LeBron James fans feel this way? What triggered it? There had to be a specific moment in time. There had to be something that specifically triggered the level of hate that's coming at LeBron James right now. I just really need to see what is actually triggering this. Because the man, again, over the last decade, even more, the man has been great with what he does. Now, does his game have flaws? Yes, every NBA player has flaws. That's a given. But what you can't deny is the man has been the best player in basketball for over a decade now. Obviously, he is getting older, so that's obviously affecting his ranking going in, and it will affect his ranking going into the next few seasons. But overall, he has been the most dominant player over the past 10 to 12 years or so. So, in doing my research, I kind of found a few indicators. I'm going to mark, one of the timestamps that I want to mark, and I want you guys to remember this. This is, according to my research, and you guys know I do a lot of research. According to my research, this LeBron James hate really started to take a big uptick in the month of May. I would say mid-May. I would say between May 10th to May 17th. For whatever reason, there was just a big uptick in that LeBron James hate. And I'm sitting back thinking, I'm like, what transpired in the month of May, from April to May, that just has these people hating on LeBron? I'll be explaining to you why they're hating on LeBron and what their agenda actually is. It's sad, but it's actually true. So, and I'll break that down at the end of the video. But right here, what we have right here, this is a conversation on Ticket TV. You guys know that I visit Ticket TV all the time. I pop up in their channel. I pop up in their debates all the time. Again, my goal is to go in and just obliterate them on a daily basis. I successfully accomplished the obliteration on a daily basis whenever I do show up on these shows. This was one of the calls where I was not around. Obviously, this would have been light work, but for whatever reason, I was not around. But the tone of this conversation is quite surprising because a lot of the people in this actual conversation right here, and I'm going to be playing two separate conversations. Now, this was a conversation prior to May 10th. This happened before May 10th. So I want you to remember these dates because there was a change in the atmosphere. There was a change. All of the vibes, all of the energy changed. After May 10th, from May 10th to May 17th, everything changed. And and I'll be exposing why. But in this conversation, we have Ticket TV and we have James Hayes, one of the most popular panelists that call into Ticket TV. James Hayes, as we know them now, they are avid LeBron haters. They hate LeBron whenever they can get a chance to trash on the man, whenever they can get a chance to bash on his game, to talk about his failures, they do so. They denigrate and downgrade everything he's done, including his championships that he's won. They say, they throw every excuse out there in the book that you commonly hear when you hear people trying to discredit LeBron James for his greatness. So when I heard this conversation prior to May 10th, it was extremely surprising because I had completely forgot about this. I completely forgot. So I'm going to play a snippet of this conversation. So what you're going to hear is you're going to hear Ticket TV and James Hayes. They're going to be talking about LeBron James. And I want you guys to pay close attention to what they're talking about. Now, after you hear this clip, I'm going to play a clip that was aired after May 17th. And I'm going to show you how their tone changed. But I'm not just going to show you how their tone changed on LeBron James, but I'm going to also expose and explain why it changed. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get to this clip right here. And again, just pay close attention to what they're saying because it's going to be quite surprising, man. The exposing is about to go down right now.
LeBron averaged 27 points without a jump shot.
I don't care what he averaged. He would not average. Hey, sorry, let the man talk. Don't disrespect the chat, man. Let him talk.
If he averaged 27 without a jump shot, now he got a decent amount of jump shots. But it ain't like no Steph Curry, no James Harden, but he still can make you respect it like he's saying. Now you get up on him, he gonna blow past you. Now you give him.
He's not gonna blow past Rodman, man. His feet too fast. He's not gonna blow past him.
He's been a locomotive since he got in the fucking league, bro. I'm not gonna.
And what that mean? And what that mean?
That's what that mean. He been
No, it doesn't. Man, he would kill LeBron. Man. Sorry, y'all tripping. I'll be doing.
Now, what y'all just heard was James Hayes in defense of LeBron James. Now, most recently, if you're not familiar with the Ticket TV debate stage, if you're not familiar with these debates, he's been popularly known for bashing LeBron James, talking about his shortcomings, especially after May 17th, the date that I told you guys to keep in mind. From May 10th to May 17th, that's where this shift was, especially with older people, especially with older guys who favor 90s basketball. And I wanted to know, my research was tailored towards identifying why did this shift happen? Why did they flip? Why did people like Ticket TV and James Hayes flip from making arguments for LeBron James? As you can clearly hear, you have James Hayes. He's talking about LeBron James, talking about he's 27 points per game even without a jumper. And he also went as far as saying that he did develop somewhat of a jumper and he's even better. If you guard him up close, he's going to blow by you. He's been a locomotive his whole career. James Hayes specifically stated that. He's going in defense of LeBron James. In defense of LeBron James, talking about his man, talking about his greatness, talking about his dominance. These are a lot of the points that LeBron James fans make when talking about his game to other people. So I'm going to play another clip. Now this was after May 17th. And what you'll see is Ticket TV and James Hayes, their entire stance on LeBron James has now changed. It's very, 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 very alarming. But it's very intriguing as well. Is like I say, when I conducted my research, and you guys always know, it's for research purposes only. I'm always doing research on these things. It just baffled my mind, man. It was really crazy. So what I'm about to do now is I'm going to play a clip for you guys. This is a statement from James Hayes on LeBron James after May 17th. All right. And then you will hear how his stance on LeBron James has changed. One thing that when I debate people, what I like is consistency. If you consistently say that LeBron James is a bum, he's not a good player, just be consistent with it. Again, we'll always have good conversations. and you can base all of your arguments off that. But what I don't like is when I can do my research, because I do a lot of research. And what I don't like is when I can go back, you say one thing about a player, then I go to another point. Now you're saying something completely different about another player. I just want you to have equal footing about the player regardless of your argument. And again, as I stated before, this is one of the reasons why the younger guys, again, don't really listen to what a lot of older guys have to say about basketball, because, again, there's clear evidence on how you flip-flop positions. But, again, I'll be explaining why the flip-flop of positioning started. But I just want you guys to hear. Now, you've heard him state how LeBron James is dominant. Now we're going to go into a clip where he's stating where he has a different stance on LeBron James, and somehow, for whatever reason, it's flipped just like that. So again, it's very strange, but let's go ahead and get to that clip right now.
The NBA.
All right. Since you keep stressing that same point, I'm gonna keep stressing my same point. LeBron is a role player, because you know how? Why the fuck he ain't go to the playoffs when he got in the harder conference?
Hey, Jay, I feel like you trolling us, bro. You trolling.
I'm saying though, because he got help like always.
What do you mean? Yo, so you trying to tell me if he never got hurt last year, they wasn't going to the playoffs?
I don't know, because they didn't make him when he got back. He played.
I don't know.
Bro, he was only 4 games down and he couldn't make it.
I don't know. I'm asking you if he was healthy.
Listen, I'm saying I don't know because I don't know what kind of rhythm he was going to be in. I don't know how serious the injury was. But what I'm saying is, he came back well in enough time to go out there to say, I'm going in playoff mode. So when you say that, I'm looking for that shit.
I'm tired of arguing.
Hey, James.
Right.
James.
See, as y'all can see here, man, the main point in this, and I know this was a short clip, James went from big up in the man, saying that even one of the greatest defenders in NBA history, Dennis Rodman, in the previous video, he was making the case that one of the greatest defenders in NBA history, Dennis Rodman, could not stop LeBron James. That's quite a statement. You know, when you're looking at the greatest defenders in NBA history, I mean, even just the greatest defenders of the 90s, you're looking at David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dennis Rodman was thrown into that mix as well. We got Bill Russell. I mean, Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest defenders, if not the greatest defender in NBA history. And in the previous call, the guy was making something that could be argued. Could Dennis Rodman stop LeBron James? That's a very good argument. And James took the argument. James basically said LeBron James is too dominant. He's a locomotive. He was averaging 27 a game without a jump shot. Then he even started to develop a jump shot, so he's even more dominant. That's what James Hayes previously said prior to May 10th. Now, between May 10th and that May 17th time frame, now he's coming out pushing this premise that LeBron James is now a role player. LeBron James can't cut it. He's not good enough. And again, my research was based on why did these guys, especially older guys, we're talking about people over 35, from 35 to 45, why are these guys making this argument that all of a sudden LeBron James is just this weak player? He's not even in the top 10 all time. James initially had LeBron James in his top 5. Then James dropped LeBron to number 10 on his list. Then when confronted on this call, because I actually confronted him on this call, and I'll play that as well, then James goes on to say that, no, I took him out of my top 10. I put him at 11 behind Shaq. All of a sudden, why all of a sudden for these guys, why all of a sudden is LeBron James just dropping on your list for no real reason? There's no legitimate reason. LeBron James is still playing. He's still playing at a historically great clip, and he's still playing at an extremely high level with the possibility to win more championships. So why all of a sudden is he dropping on their list? So I'm going to play this next portion. Where I actually come into the call, and the first thing I say when I go into the call, because, again, it was around this time where I said I need to really start doing some research into this, because these guys are all of a sudden making this switch on LeBron James for no real reason at all. The hate for LeBron James is just on a rise, is on an uptick. So I'm going to play this next portion. You'll hear Ticket TV announce me in, but I'm going to come into the call. The first thing I say, I confront James about what's going on with this LeBron James thing? You guys all of a sudden are hating him now.
We wanted to go in with James. We got to go in deep. Here come Lamont, man. Come this punk ass nigga Lamont.
Yo, these niggas, ACJ.
Right, right.
These niggas use anything.
Anything, bro. It's like Bron can't. It's like Bron could never win. It's like this, bro. Right. It's like LeBron could go out there, right? LeBron could go out there, drop 50, and his team lose, and they're gonna say, "Oh, Bron, why you use your teammate, Bron?" And Bron uses his teammate. They're gonna call Bron passive aggression.
CJ, let me tell you how much y'all contradict yourself.
He can't win.
Earlier, CJ, they called this man a role player.
Right.
I called him a role player.
Fuck
out of here with
that bullshit.
Let me show you how y'all. Let me show you how you contradict yourself, CJ.
Hey yo! Shout out to Lamont. Shout out to Lamont in the Cash App, man. Lamont talking shit, man. He want to smoke with James, man.
He can never win.
Pull up.
See, and it was at this point in time where I just continued. I really just had to get in on the chat. I think this day I wasn't even going to get in, but I just kept hearing, I just kept hearing what's going on with this additional LeBron hate. It's coming out of left field. There's no real reason for it. Why are people all of a sudden bashing LeBron James?
He can't win.
Lamont said he want to smoke with James, man.
He can't win either way. It's like LeBron could do right. Right. LeBron could do right, and nigga will find something he could do wrong, and nigga will find something to say.
Hey, I do need a real debate because I can't be debating about no role play all day, bro. I'm wasting my time.
Look.
Niggas
keep calling your role
Lamont lane, my nigga. What up, Lamont?
Hey James, you said LeBron a role player, but you got him in your top 10. How the hell that works? You say LeBron a role player, but he got 4 MVPs. Name another role player with 4 MVPs.
Right, and then
name another role player with Finals MVP.
Hey, Lamont. Hey, Lamont. This another thing.
These niggas say that Chris Webber. These niggas say Chris Webber was a superstar, but LeBron a role player. Chris Webber couldn't win. Couldn't even get to the finals.
Hey, Lamont. This is right there.
These niggas say Jerry West. These niggas are saying Jerry West is better than LeBron. There's no
Hold up. Lamont won't smoke. So I'm about to give it to him. I'm about to blow it.
You got a little sparkler, right? All you got is a little sparkler. You ain't even got no smoke. You got a little sparkler. That shit is
let me tell you something, dog. I would bury you, dog. At the end of the day, I'm about to bury you right now. Listen. Hold up. Listen. Only thing I can give LeBron over Chris Webber because he did it in the first 7 years like a G, like was supposed to. But after that, name me a time Chris Webber did what the fuck LeBron did to get to a rank and ain't win.
Don't matter. He was still the leader of all them teams.
Name me the time when Chris Webber was
still the best player in all them teams.
See, and I'm not even going to go too deep in that conversation, but you can see how far off on a tangent they start to go when you confront them about this just sudden change and how they feel about LeBron James. And that was the weirdest part about this whole thing. That's what made me start doing this research. I really had to start looking at this. I had to start looking at old clips. I didn't even just start looking at old clips. I looked at videos of other LeBron haters, other YouTubers who hate LeBron. And it's been a consistent theme. Across YouTube, it's been a consistent theme between April 19th and May 17th. Between those dates, and it really, really started to happen from May 10th to May 17th. There was a large influx in LeBron James hate. People were pushing the narrative that LeBron James wasn't as great. His accomplishments were not great. A lot of people were focusing on his 6 finals losses. A lot of people were just focusing on the negative. Then they'd even start going off the court. Then they start talking about Clutch Sports. How Clutch Sports is signing all these players and how all these players are in the media pushing for LeBron James. They're trying to push this narrative that there's this hidden agenda to glorify LeBron James. And so the only thing that I could find that coincided with this time frame, with this change, was the release of The Last Dance. The release of The Last Dance, the docuseries on Michael Jordan. A lot of people say that Jordan approved this docuseries being released so that he could remind everyone of his greatness. And Jordan felt that everyone needed to be reminded of his greatness, primarily because I think he can see LeBron James in his shadows. I think he can see LeBron James on his heels, potentially coming for that top spot as GOAT of all time. So when the Jordan fans, or a lot of people from that 90s era, when they really started to see that there's a real possibility at the end of the day, LeBron James can overtake Michael Jordan, the 90s hero for all those guys. There's a real possibility that LeBron James could overtake him as the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Now there's this campaign. There's a campaign to diminish all of his accomplishments. So right now, the only thing that LeBron haters can do right now is what they have to do is they have to minimize his accomplishments. So what they do to minimize his accomplishments is you focus on how he got his rings. Or he had to join Dwayne Wade. He had to join with Chris Bosh to win a championship in Miami. All right. When he came back to Cleveland, he had to team up with Kyrie, and he had to team up with Kevin Love to win a championship. Which that in of itself is a really a false narrative, because all championship teams have great players. All championship teams have great players. If you look at the last 20 NBA champions, there are multiple All-Stars. There are multiple great players on these teams. Multiple. Whether it's the Spurs with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Hall of Fame coach Greg Popovich. Whether it's the Lakers, Shaq, Kobe, Hall of Fame coach, and Phil Jackson. Whether it's the Golden State Warriors, Hall of Fame players like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, potentially Hall of Fame coach and Steve Kerr. Even when we look at the Toronto Raptors, great players in Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, great players. What you find on championship teams, the common theme that you find on championship teams are great players across the board that are great at what they do. Now, I'm not saying that all of them are superstar level, because at the time, when LeBron James joined with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, Wade at that time was a superstar. Chris Bosh was an all-star. He was not a superstar. He did not have any success. Aside from Wade's one championship, which even when he won that championship, he still had Shaquille O'Neal alongside of him, along with some other really good players. But it takes a team. It takes a combination of great players and great chemistry to win championships. So this narrative that these LeBron James haters are trying to push, saying that LeBron James needed help to win. Well, yes, every great player who's won a championship needed help to win a championship. Jordan didn't win a championship until he got Scottie and Phil Jackson. All right. Then when they fell off, they were still one piece short. They needed a Dennis Rodman. They needed somebody to play that Horace Grant role. And we saw how they struggled against the Orlando Magic in Jordan's comeback year when they didn't have a player filling that third role at the Horace Grant role. So when they got Dennis Rodman, one of the greatest defenders of all time, the greatest rebounder of all time, that filled a huge void. All right, that filled a big hole. So again, I think a lot of the arguments. So a lot of the arguments against LeBron are false narratives. One, but then I see the intent. The intent is just simply discredit everything he's done, so that LeBron is no longer in the GOAT conversation. There's no one else who could be considered who can actually still come after that top spot. There's no one now playing basketball that can come after that top spot. Maybe Kawhi Leonard. We don't know if he can again. I think longevity might affect him. Kevin Durant, we don't know what he's going to do after the Achilles tear. We don't know what he's going to look like. The only person in that potential conversation that has the ability to chase down Jordan to take that number one spot is the greatest of all time is LeBron James. And I feel that fans of the 90s are trying to they're desperately holding on to their GOAT. They don't want to lose their GOAT. So they're making up false narratives to discredit everything that LeBron James has done. And again, I've done a lot of research on this, guys. I've done a lot of research. This just isn't with Ticket TV. This is across YouTube. When you go look across YouTube, look at all these YouTubers. You'll find them making statements, praising LeBron, talking about his skill set, talking about how good he is, But then after The Last Dance dropped, that was like the bat signal in the sky saying that we need to really do everything we can to make sure Jordan stays atop. We need to do everything we can to discredit players like LeBron James to make sure that they are never considered the GOAT. You know, they're fine. And what's so funny? There's only a debate. You only have these arguments when you say that LeBron is the GOAT when he's over Mike. You don't really have these arguments when you're making the case that LeBron James is potentially top 5 all time or top 10 of all time. They're fine with that. It's only when you start talking about LeBron James potentially overcoming Michael Jordan. And then that's when the signals come on. That's when their alerts pop up. That's when they have to start saying anything possible to discredit the man LeBron James. You know, they'll go, he didn't have a jumper or clutch moments. You know, and again, these are all false narratives. If you look at game-winning buzzer beater shots, Jordan has 9, LeBron has 7. I mean, those are 7 clutch moments. You know, clutch shots, buzzer-beating shots. LeBron has 7. You know, Jordan has 10, I think. You know, again, that's not a big difference, and LeBron James is still playing. So, again, all you guys have to do, man, just make sure that you're doing your own research because as you can see, man, people who love the 90s, and I'm going to do some more videos over the 90s. People who love the 90s love to push the narrative that the 90s was just this greatest era of basketball. I mean, well, you know, my next video is going to be on the centers of the 90s. You know, there's this ideology that the centers of the 90s were just this great group of centers. I'm here to expose and debunk that as well. You know, realistically, there were only about 6 dominant centers in the 90s. Only about 6. But, you know, you let 90s fans tell it, they'll make it sound as if you're going against a dominant center every single night. That was not the case. So again, that's going to be another exposed video. Again, we're going to be breaking down the 90s. We're going to be exposing those players as well. But again, this is just, again, so this video, again, is all about exposing what I call them is they're fake LeBron James haters. They don't even really hate him, but they need to find a way to discredit everything he's doing so that he cannot even be in that consideration for taking over the GOAT spot because the man is still playing. LeBron James, if he stays on course, if he stays healthy, if he stays in the shape that he's in, he can probably play another 4 to 5 years and another 3 really strong years. You know, we don't know what he can do. If he wins 3 more rings, if he wins 2 more rings, what will the case be then? Then he'll have a legitimate case for being the GOAT. All right, and I think that those 90s fans, those Jordan lovers, I think they can start to sense that. So they're just putting in their work early. So if you're LeBron James fans, you got to stay steadfast. You just got to stick with the facts, stick with your arguments, and again, the things that they're doing will expose themselves. So again, like I say, I love going on the Ticket TV, but again, it's just another thing that I had to just come out and expose. I understand why they're trying to hold on to the 90s. You know, Jordan is their only hope. Jordan is the only hope. Jordan dominated the 90s. Those 90s players, with all their greatness, with all those supposed superstars of the 90s, they allowed one man to dominate their era. They allowed one man to take rings from every superstar in that era. That's what they did. But you know, and again, I feel like if there was all this talent in the 90s, somebody would have been able to overcome that. And it wasn't doable. So again, I think there's a myth about the 90s being so great. I think that the fans of the 90s are fearful that LeBron James is coming for that top spot, and he is. You just have to admit it. And even, like I said, even James Hayes admitted it in a previous conversation that was back prior to May 17th. But when that Last Dance came out, he saw, obviously, the warning sign went up. We got to start discrediting people because we can't let nobody come get Mike. So that's, like I said, that's the breaking news for the day. And just wanted to expose that. So guys like CJ and Spiffy, make sure when you go back to Ticket TV, you hit them with these facts, man. Hit them with these facts. They said just a couple months ago, you guys were singing a different tune. Y'all were singing a different tune. Y'all were saying LeBron James was one of the greatest of all time. Y'all were saying that he did have a jumper, things of that nature. Now all of a sudden, it's all about LeBron James hate. So again, if you are a fan of LeBron James, man, just hold steadfast. Let's continue to cheer him on. And some of these guys, maybe they'll change. You know, if LeBron James switches teams and he goes to their favorite team, maybe they'll be singing a different tune. Yeah, I've seen that happen with a lot of players. You know, either you like them or you love them. But again, it's been another great video, man. I just had to break this down for you guys. My next video is going to be exposing the 90s centers of the 90s. Again, they weren't as dominant as what you guys have been led to believe. There were only a few good centers in the 90s. Over the course of 10 years, there were only about 6 dominant ones. And I would say about 2 to 3 dominant ones, about 6 really good ones. Other than that, they were just really good players, close to average. But as FYF Sports, man, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the video. If you have any questions or concerns, please hit us up on Instagram or Twitter. We're always available to talk. If you want to come on to the show, definitely come on to the show. We're going to be starting our live chat soon. I can't wait till that starts. Also, we're going to be changing up our formula for when our live chat starts. So originally, we were going to start our live chats when we got to 500 members in our NBA Go Talk group on Facebook. But because our growth on YouTube has been so fast, when we get to 10K subscribers, and at the rate that we're growing right now, it looks like 10K subscribers could be happening within the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks if we continue to grow at this rate. So when we get to 10K subscribers, we're going to start doing our live debates on YouTube. Where you guys can call in and you can contest us. If you don't agree with us, if you do agree with us, if you have your own points on these matters, let's get it out there. But we're going to have different topics. The best thing about our show is that every night we're going to declare a winner of debate. There will be declared a winner of debate. We don't choose who the winner is. We're going to go to the chat. And we're going to allow you guys in the chat to pick who the winner of the debate is. And whoever the winner of those debates are, you will be winning a prize for that day. So we'll try to do live stream debates, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not for sure how frequently we'll be getting them done, but we will be starting off with those live chats when we get to 10K subscribers. So definitely appreciate you guys for liking, commenting, engaging in all our videos. Not just that, but you guys are really appreciating and sharing our videos as well. And again, we really appreciate that type of engagement, man, because it's really helping us grow. It's really helping us reach out to different types of fans of all ages. And again, we're different, and we're reaching out to people who weren't necessarily as interested in sports before, but now they are because they've started watching our videos. We have a lot of engaging content, from entertaining videos to debate videos to basketball videos, all sports, all topics. Nothing is off limits here at FYF Sports. So again, just wanted to give a big shout out to you, just subscribers who have stepped in, showed up, engaged, and gave us a lot of support. So FYF Sports Debates. It's been a really good video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But it's FYF Sports, and we're out.